Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Child Care Business Coach podcast. My name is Evelyn Knight. I am the CEO and founder of Child Care Business Professionals, which actually brings you this podcast. And also, I would love to give a shout out to Seven Figures Funding, who is another sponsor and who will also be sponsoring the Child Care Business Summit. But today, we're talking about chaos. And, Seven Figures Funding, we can actually bring that into the conversation a little bit later. It just dawned on me. But we're talking about the chaos that we seem to live in. And I really try to always be transparent and honest with you guys. I really want to not seem like I have it all. I don't ever want to be that person who comes in here and tells you, like, oh, look at me. I'm doing amazing. I have all the answers. Just follow me. And we will get all this figured out because I've perfected it. It's not true. I'm not going to pretend like I've perfected it. It's always a work in progress. And it kind of feels sometimes like when this gets perfected, I have to go and fix something else because there's another thing that comes up, right? It always feels like there's something new. And it feels like things constantly evolve because they do. This system may be wonderful and work today, and tomorrow it needs to change and it needs to evolve. So let me know that you're here. I can see on my StreamYard here that there's people watching on YouTube and LinkedIn, and I think we just got a Facebook on here. So say hello. I do get lonely on this side of the camera. And if you're listening to the podcast, I really do appreciate your support and just constantly coming in. But chaos, right? If we're not watching our systems, chaos happens. And for many of you that I work with, you don't even have any systems. There are no systems in your life or in your business. And so you are dealing with this chaotic atmosphere because you haven't created operations. There's so much to this that actually needs to be looked at. It's funny because the way this podcast episode came up, I was talking to my son who owns a couple businesses, and he's only 20 years old. So he's really just navigating being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And I asked him, okay, honey, I'm always preaching to you. You got to do this in your business and you got to do this. I said, what is the one thing that I'm always talking to you about that impacts you the most? And he says, Mom, you're always talking about having systems for everything, that you have to have organizational systems like a chain of command, even if it's a small operation. You have to have operations that basically show you how to do the same thing every single time. And he's right. It is so important. From how do you spend your money? How are you keeping track of it? Why is this so important to ECE? Tomorrow, actually, I'll be teaching a class for the state of Nevada through our children's cabinet that's all about creating your systems of operations and helping leaders in Nevada create these. So why is it so important that our subsidy program recognized it and wanted us to come in and teach on this? It's really what one of the components we need to level up ECE. It's one of those things that we just kind of float through our days and we don't realize what's happening around us. And we kind of feel alone. We feel like just chaos is ensuing. Our staff doesn't get it. They aren't keeping up. Nobody understands. But really, it's us, it's not them. It's us because we don't have documented and teachable expectations and systems that are duplicatable, right? I find myself falling into this trap constantly. I'm in a season right now where I really need to look at my systems and I need to change them because what was working last year, or even, yes, I mean, we're not that far into 2024, isn't working this year. So we have to change things up a little bit, right? The other thing I really struggle with sometimes with systems is sometimes my systems aren't the best. And I need to look to my staff, and I need to let my staff take over some of the systems. They are genius at creating flows, right? Workflows and how this is supposed to go. And in early childhood, we don't understand the importance of this. Like when you're enrolling a new child, do you have the exact same system every single time? And is it assigned to someone? And yes, it can be assigned to a teacher. That doesn't have to be you every single time. Playground rules. What do the teachers do? Do you have a system for the teachers to understand how do transitions work onto the playground? How do they conduct themselves on the playground? It should be the same every single time, right? And even if you have turnover, the new staff coming in should have something that's documented and shows them, okay, this is what I need to do next constantly. And you should train on it. It's a big deal. So, is this something you have into place with your money management? Years ago, I was going bankrupt and I was really close to bankruptcy to the point that I had an eviction notice on my childcare center's doors. The IRS had a nice hefty bill for me. And I went and spoke to a financial advisor, and that's what really got me into this world. I went and spoke to this advisor and asked them, um, what am I going to do? And I honestly thought I was running so lean, but I didn't really have a system on how to spend my money. I didn't have a system on how to bring in the money, how to make sure my parents were paying. I mean, we were doing all of that, but there wasn't an operational system in place that we would follow on a weekly basis constantly, right? It wasn't this formatted thing. We weren't doing audits um, the way that we should. And there was just a lot that we weren't doing. So the financial advisor at the time that I was using gave me an assignment. She basically told me that I need to go home and go through my expenses and basically reduce. Oh my goodness, they're the three R's. And now I'm blanking, even though we do this every quarter. Reduce, remove, or replace every single thing in my that I spend money on. And she told me that my job was to go cut 10% off my bottom line at Zoom. And I thought, there is no way. I am running so slim. At the time, I was making no money. This was about 12 years ago. I was literally making $0. I couldn't pay my bills. I was skimping on everything. I was shopping around for the cheapest paper towels. You know, I would go on Amazon and Sam's Club and Costco and price compare. And back then we had Jet. There was other alternatives. And I was really, really penny pinching. So I thought, there's no way. I left absolutely defeated, thinking, gosh, this lady's not going to be able to help me. I'm going to go bankrupt. And I just remember trying it anyway. I thought, I'm going to try, but I don't think it's going to work. And I did her system, and I was shocked that not only did I cut 10%, but I was able to cut 17% of what I was spending money on when I thought I was already really slim. The problem was because I didn't have a system, I was kind of chaotic. And I find that if I don't have a system in place, it's just how I am, right? I have three types of ADHD, I have narcolepsy. My brain is pretty chaotic. If I don't, I mean, like, if you saw the desk around you guys, it is chaotic, right? And I do make sure I'm very intentional at making sure it's I have systems now that actually subdue the chaos, so it's actually probably not as bad as you think. But I have to have those systems. I do, because when I didn't, I was so stressed. I was exhausted, and I thought I wanted out of early childhood education. I really resented my childcare center. There was a day in particular that I will never forget, and it was such a profound. I've had some profound days as a childcare center owner, but one day in particular, I tell this story often. I drove from one of my childcare centers that was about a mile away from my hometown childcare center. And I had gone over there and it was just kind of chaotic over there. We were dealing with problems, and I, as the owner, had to go over there, helped my director. I was just helping, trying to just calm the chaos. And I drove from that center and I came home to my other center. As I was driving, I just kept thinking about how tired I was and how I didn't want to do this anymore. And how, why am I the only one who gets this? I can't keep this up. And I remember I'm praying. And those of you guys who know me, I am a God girl. So I'm praying the whole time, God, why do you have me in this job? I don't want to do this anymore. Let me out of this. And I just remembered like this struggle of like, I can't be the only one who knows how to run these centers. I can't do this anymore. And I just decided I want to be done. I want to be done. And to be honest with you, that was when I hired that financial advisor, right? Like I think I was actually already working with her, but when I went and talked to her, and Christina, actually, who is my COO now, was a co-owner of this company. And we sat down, Christina was there, and we basically, I told them, I just want you guys to help me position my childcare centers so I can sell because I'm tired and I'm done in this industry. Now, this was in 2012. So obviously, I didn't sell and I made it through, right? But that day that I drove to my center, I knew that God had called me to be a childcare center owner. And for those of you who know me, you know I have to do what God calls me to do. It's just who I am. So that specific day, I was literally pleading with God to release me. I was literally pleading, Lord, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't. I can't live in this chaos and have all of this on my shoulders. And I felt the weight of, gosh, at that time we had probably 250 children, and I think I had about 25 staff. All of that was on my shoulders, and I was exhausted, and I was being crushed. And even thinking about it now, I'm even tearing up, right? I'm going to have to fight back tears for a second. Just remembering that feeling of just being so overwhelmed. I was crushed. And I just didn't know what to do. And there's a couple things that I learned from that season that I carry in today. And I know when I start falling back into these times, there's a few things I need to look at for help. First, what are my systems? What are my habits? Right? How is my discipline? Because I was trying to do everything alone, right? Because nobody else knew. It was all in my head. And I expected other people to pick up the pieces from something that was in my head. And that's just not realistic. People aren't going to do that. I had to get it out. I had to create these systems and I had to train people on what was in my head so that I wasn't the only one who could do everything, right? But there's another very important component. And again, I'm going to be transparent that until more recently, I've learned was the other key piece to my success and my continued success. And I will be honest before I give you that component that I've been in a rough season over the last 6 months. And I have really been struggling with just not really going on, but how am I going to approach it? More, not my childcare centers, but more this company that does this podcast, like thinking, how am I going to move forward? I need to change something. I don't like how I created the company. I don't like the direction we're going in. Something has to change. So, again, to be honest, I thought about I'm just going to burn the whole thing down and rebuild. We're just going to demo this thing and start over. But over the last few months, the lesson that I have learned is that not only are systems to duplicate me so important, But the bigger issue that I missed all these years is that it's the people. It's people. It's the people that implement, the people that you have in your life. They are even more important than every system that I could have in place, right? Because I could teach all of these people systems, but if I'm not teaching the right one, the right person, that is, not the right system, then it's falling on deaf ears. Now, I've always really valued human capital and the people in my life. I do value them so, so, so greatly. And I tend to value them so much that I put everything on my shoulders and I don't share the burden. And that is the biggest lesson I've come to learn in this current season is first, I don't have to carry this burden by myself. Secondly, I was not created to carry this burden by myself. And third, true growth and power comes when you don't. So, when I'm creating these systems, I came to realize that it can't just be me. I can't be the only one. One, things need to evolve and change. I need to allow the brilliant women and men that work with me and work for me to evolve and change that. Now, that being said, I want you to really be careful with that because it doesn't mean that systems and processes and procedures can just be thrown away. Absolutely not. They cannot. They can be tweaked. But when you tweak them, when you help them to evolve, that has to be documented. It has to become the official new way of doing things, right? Because it can't just become a free for all. Otherwise, you have no systems in place. Your policies, procedures, your systems, they're gone. And so I do allow my staff, and we actually are going through a whole series right now with my childcare centers management staff, where we are recreating our complete inner working systems. And we literally sit down together every week to every other week, depending on how our schedules look. And we like, okay, what system do we need to create? And we're starting from like, let's look over our enrollment procedures. How is this working? Good, great. Next, what about our parent orientation? Okay, let's change that. And then we're changing it. So we're literally going through every single one to change and to help them to evolve, right? And at this point in my life, I created all these, but now I'm stepping back and I'm asking my staff, how is this working for you? What is working? What isn't working? And I'm really allowing them to control that evolution. So, if you want to stop the chaos in your life, it's going to take systems. You're going to need to create these systems of operations. This is all a part of what I'm looking at right now in the early childhood education system, period, as I am trying to lead this early childhood education revolution, the ECE revolution for childcare center providers, because it is time, you guys. It is time for us to get off this hamster wheel that we have created and we continue to foster in early childhood education. It is time for us to really level up our thinking and who we are. We are so desperate to be treated like a profession and to be a profession, yet we don't play the part. If we want to be treated with the respect of the profession that we are, we need to live up to that. And that is the cold reality. And I am not going to sugarcoat things. I am not the person, the talking head that you guys listen to, that is going to be the one who brings you the poor us. Why doesn't the government come in and rescue us? Why doesn't the world see who we are? No, we're going to take accountability. We are going to take accountability. We are going to step up and we are going to become the industry I know we can be. Those of you who are with me. Some won't jump on this bandwagon, but they are going to be left behind. It's inevitable. With the economy the way it is, the way the world has changed, the old way of doing early childhood education and childcare, private childcare, is not going to work anymore. And part of this is a wonderful thing because it means that we get to level up our industry. We get to show the world that we are the professionals that we say we are. But that is going to become making us more professional organizations, which means you are going to have solid systems of operation that make it so easy for you to become duplicatable that you can open multiple centers and easily duplicate yourself. You're going to have a better relationship with your money and understand that money isn't this scarce commodity that is so hard for the ECE world to come by, right? All of this is time. This is all things also that we're going to be talking about the Child Care Business Summit. How are we leveling up? This year, the Child Care Business Summit is not for everybody. It really isn't. I would love to cater to everybody, and I'm coming out of a season where I try to, and I'm exhausted from it. But I've realized that I'm only aligning myself now with the people who get it, who understand that it is time for us to do more and for us to really level up. It is time. It is time for us to get to that next level. And so, through the EC Revolution, through the Child Care Business Summit, it really is only for those forward thinking leaders who are at a higher level, who think at a higher level. Doesn't mean that your business has to be at a higher level yet, but it means that you get it. You understand these concepts I'm talking about. You understand why you have to fix your relationship with money. You have to fix your relationship with systems and the chaos. And most importantly, you have to be able to take accountability. You have to be able to say, you know what? I don't need anyone to come save me because I'm going to step up and save myself. I'm going to do things. I'm going to create additional revenue streams. I'm going to go in and do what I need to do and reinvent the wheel if I have to. But we can do this. There are a lot of brilliant minds, and I'm seeing it through this new project I have called Visionary Circle. This new Visionary Circle I have is just these brilliant people who get this, who get what I'm talking about. So we gather together every month on Zoom and 3 times a year in person. And these are the conversations we have. How are we going to fix this industry so we can level up? How do we level up ourselves? How do we have multiple streams of income? How do we create prosperity for our childcare center? Did you guys know that your childcare center can buy stock? It can actually invest in stock and grow its own wealth. You don't have to just rely on your tuition. Your childcare center can be a landlord. There's a lot that you can do. So if you're ready to be one of these higher level thinkers, first, I would invite you to come to the Child Care Business Summit. If you know that maybe this is me, if it's not, that's okay. I know that the direction I'm going in is not for everybody, and I'm okay with that. And I know that there's going to be a lot of you out there who can't handle this. It's like, I'm good the way things are. And what you're saying, nope, that is not for me. Because I understand that my summit is not for everybody. I understand that what we're doing is not for everybody. I'm really just aligning with those people who think at a higher level and who understand and are embracing change. So thank you once again. And I said at the beginning of this podcast that seven-figure funding, I could actually, it occurred to me, would fit into this. And Leo Cannell is going to be one of our speakers at Summit. He is actually the CEO and founder of Seven Figures Funding. Well, Seven Figures Funding is a company that actually can help you learn how to create business credit that is completely independent of you. So you, as a childcare center owner, do not need to use your own credit. His company literally specializes in creating credit. He has a podcast, the Seven Figure Funding Podcast, amazing YouTube channel, all the things. I am just thrilled that Leo is one of our keynote speakers. Our industry doesn't understand how big of a deal this is. He's a really big deal. and especially in the business finance world. But it's one of the things I'm trying to do to level up ECE is bringing people like Leo in. These are one of those things that I'm looking at. Like, we got to get these higher level people in that our industry doesn't even know exist, right? But other industries that are super prosperous, they know about people like Leo. They know about people like Tony Child, the people I'm bringing in to pour into you. This is what truly successful entrepreneurs and business owners, these are the people that they go to for their lead. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, I am actually going to put it in the comments right now. Let's see, child care. And I'm sorry for the silence. I should have thought of this before. But it should be in the comment whether you're on, yep, I see it going into YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Go ahead and get your tickets to the summit now. You will not, and for those of you who are listening to the podcast, it's at childcarebusinessprofessionals.com/summit. So childcarebusinessprofessionals.com/summit. That's where you can get your tickets. Summit is in beautiful Lake Tahoe from June 20th and 21st. So I cannot wait to see you guys. And you guys, we are almost sold out. We only, I don't know. I think last time we looked, we do not have that many tickets left, but we definitely want to pack the house for amazing speakers like Leo Cannell and Tony Child. So make sure you get there. Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. And if this episode really resonated with you, send an email to admin@childcarebusinessprofessionals.com or shoot me a Facebook message. I know I'm behind on my Facebook messages right now. There's a few of you. I have a lot to go through. So I do try to personally go through my Facebook messages. So if you have a message in there, I know I'm behind. I will get to you. I just really need to put that in my calendar, an hour just to get back to everybody who's waiting for me. Have a wonderful rest of your week, everybody.